Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Isn't that a cool looking image? This is from the cover of the Spanish edition of Angels, Demons, and Gods of the New Millennium. It's a book that came out quite a few years ago, and this is the Spanish edition. And if you think that's cool, look at this one, this image. This is the Greek edition. I just love those images. Now, if you're thinking, I've never heard of that book, I know all of Lon's books. Well, I'm sure a few of you have heard of it, because here's the original English edition put out by our good friends so long ago. It was Samuel Weiser, but it's still in print. And if you don't have it, well, if you don't have it, then your Lon Milo DuQuette library is incomplete. Anyway, it's Musings on Modern Magic, and I'm going to share, and I've done it before over the last 2.5 years, or how long ever I've been doing this, for our gathering of sequestered mystics, many of whom are not sequestered anymore. Where is that light coming from? That thing right there. I see a. Well, anyway, it's a. The reason I thought about it was somebody had emailed me wanting some clarification on the difference between the age of Horus, the new Aeon, the age of Horus, and the Kali Yuga, or the Dwapara Yuga, or one of the Hindu yugas, and astrological ages and such. And I've got a whole section in this that's absolutely dedicated, exclusively dedicated to the precession of the equinoxes and the metamorphosis of the gods. Now it's, it's a kind of a full chapter here, and I can't get through it in just one reading. So I'm probably going to do this for the next couple days, because it's really a good chapter. And I wrote it when I was much younger, so it was kind of refreshing for me to go over again, to see how naive I was, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm not going to waste that much time, because I want to get into it. But I posted 2 images from it, charts like that. Okay, I posted them on my Facebook page, and they will appear directly below the recording of this on my Facebook page. And you might want to take a look at those and even print them out. Better still, you can just go to Amazon or go to the Weiser website and order yourself your own copy of Angels, Demons, and Gods of the New Millennium. I know it would thrill the good folks at Weiser no end to know that after all of these years, it's still selling a couple copies. Anyway, here we go. And that light on my screen is bothering me. I'm going to see if I can. Hey, that took care of it. I wish all my problems could be so easily solved. Oh, one other thing. One other thing. You've waited for the new edition of the Tarot of Ceremonial Magic. It is out. It is shipping right now. If you ordered it, it's the third the third printing from our good friends at Magical Omaha. And it's got a brand new cover on the box. It's got the Fool instead of this, and it's got the box is different. Also in the inside of the box is the super handy chart that enables you to look up your birthday cards or the cards that have the dates, the decans, and the different dates associated with the court cards and the small cards, which is something I use every time I read tarot cards for somebody. I look up their significator, and I have to get out a piece of paper and say that it's already installed in the new edition. And there's a beautiful new a new card, which is a beautiful color Tree of Life card with the cards from the Tarot of Ceremonial Magic projected onto the past. So it's really cool. I'm selling the. How much would you pay for a deck like that? Well, when they've been out of print, you paid an awful lot for it, but now they're back in print for $39.99 or something like that. So they fit right inside a stocking hanging from the mantelpiece. Oh, your friends will thank you. This is, once again, from Angels, Demons, Gods, the New Millennium. The Precession of the Equinoxes and the Metamorphosis of the Gods. The epigram is from Ovid. Now I shall tell of things that change, new being out of old. Since you, O gods, created mutable arts and gifts, give me the voice to tell the shifting story of the world, from the beginning to the present hour. That's from his Metamorphosis, or as they say in posh English, metamorphosis. I confess that I'm old enough to remember, with poignant nostalgia, the golden age of hippiedom, 1966 through 69. My wife and I tuned in to the Beatles, vegetarianism, yoga, astrology, and Eastern mysticism, turned on to the softer varieties of chemical mind expansion, and dropped out of college, the military-industrial complex, and any involvement with the social and spiritual formulae of the previous generation. We found ourselves thrust into the vortex of a profound and universal polarization of perception. Artists and young people were the first to be affected. Either you saw that the world had just changed radically, or you didn't. If you saw it, you were seized with the realization of limitless possibilities, a world at peace, the eradication of disease and hunger, space travel, spiritual enlightenment, all seem possible and within our reach. Those that didn't see it, including family members, politicians, and movie stars, were seen as dangerous troglodytes, collaborating with the slave masters and worshiping false old gods of greed, violence, and self-induced ignorance. Many and colorful were the variations within this symphony of change, but Bob Dylan's raspy little voice articulated its major theme. For the times, they are a-changing. There was no shortage of theories proposing to explain this cultural phenomenon. The government blamed communist agitation. The military blamed the liberal government. School administrators blamed television and the compassionate child-raising advice of Dr. Benjamin Spock. Right-wing extremists blamed the international Jewish conspiracy, fluoridated water, and Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley blamed the Beatles, and Christian zealots from nearly every band of the ecumenical spectrum proclaimed that the eagerly awaited universal Holocaust prophesied in the Bible was at last at hand. Finally, with a cultural irony that perhaps could only have occurred in 20th century America, a hit Broadway show about hippies revealed the cosmic cause of this manifestation of euphoric optimism and wild unrest: the dawning of the age of Aquarius. World events and decades following the turbulent 60s have proven we were a bit premature in our expectations of millennial utopia. But a broad overview of human history and cultural evolution reveals that we are, indeed, living in an era of radical change. Looking farther back into recorded history, it's possible to see other such transitional periods. Flashing at regular intervals along the timeline of history, these brief sparks ignite the atmosphere of the age and define its dominant spiritual, intellectual, and social formulae. Landmarks along the timeline and the names of the ages vary depending upon one's scientific or spiritual discipline. The scale of the archaeologist is marked by Ice Age, Stone Age, Bronze Age, Copper Age, and Iron Age. The sociologist thinks in terms of Dark Age, Renaissance, and the Age of Enlightenment. The Greeks and Hindus sang of a golden age, a Satya Yuga, of perfect bliss and harmony, when humans walked with the gods. A silver age, the Treta Yuga, of justice and enlightenment. A bronze age, Dwapara Yuga, of law and enforced morality. And an iron age, or a Kali Yuga, of violence, moral degeneracy. To the student of Western Hermeticism, the most significant timeline of the ages is determined by the relative movement of the heavenly bodies. Since at least the 3rd millennium BC, Vedic astrologers were aware of the spherical shape of the Earth, the law of gravity, and the heliocentricity of the solar system. Centuries of observation also led them to surmise that our sun and solar system were revolving in an elliptical path about a dual sun or some other inscrutable point in the galaxy, which we now determine as a giant black hole in the Milky Way. By observing the relative position of the sun against the backdrop of the zodiacal band at the vernal equinox, it was discovered that the sun seemed to fall a bit short of its starting point of the previous year, resulting in the loss of approximately 1 full degree every 72 years. Consequently, the sun appears to move backwards across the belt of the zodiac at the approximate rate of 1 zodiac sign every 2,160 years. Footnote, astrologers disagree upon the exact length of the astrological ages, giving estimates ranging from 2,000 years to 2,400 years. For the purpose of this essay, I will use a commonly accepted modern calculation of 2,166 years. The result in a great astrological year of 26,000 years, 12 periods of 2,166.66, in which the entire zodiacal belt is traversed. Okay, and just backing up a page here, I've got a diagram that sort of shows that. Astrologers differ on the exact dates of the astrological ages, but there's a general consensus that the age of Aquarius begins shortly before or after the year 2000. And while I'm at it, I'll show you this diagram. It shows like when the sun is in Aquarius, on its opposite pole is Leo. So in other words, the influence of Aquarius is filtered through the sun to the earth, but that would mean that the influence of Leo, we get a direct influence right in our rear end. Well, figuratively speaking. That'll be important in a little while. Okay. Let's see. Because the ancient observations took place at the vernal equinox, this phenomenon of retrograde movement was named the precession, not procession, precession of the equinoxes. During its 12-month yearly journey, the sun moves forward through the zodiac, whose signs serve as seasonal changes on the earth. During the 26,000 years of the great year, the sun moves backwards through the zodiac, whose signs are symbols of spiritual seasons that are the various stages of the evolving consciousness of humanity. It is the momentum and direction of this spiritual growth that is the focus of this chapter. For it is, in truth, this movement that animates the metamorphosis of the gods. Now I'm going to look up at the clock there to see if this would be a good time to change. And I think I'm just going to read on just one more page here, and then we will break for the day. Pantheon of One is the heading. At the risk of being labeled a solar chauvinist, I will affirm the fact that any astrologer who is not suffering some terminal form of parochial denial must grudgingly admit to be true. The sun is the god of the universe. Excuse me, I misspoke. The sun is the god of the zodiac. Its first and foremost godlike duty is simply to provide an aspect of position in a space-time continuum. Without this point of reference, there would be no belt of the zodiac, because there would be no fixed point from which to project one. No time, whose fragile existence requires a point of triangulation from which to observe the relative movement of the heavenly bodies, and most importantly, no us. Solar energy, either from our own sun or from the earlier generation or its earlier generation ancestors, literally created the Earth, the moon, and our planetary neighbors. The conversion of sunlight creates and sustains all life. Truly, in our little corner of the universe, the sun is not only the symbol of a god, it is a god. This is not to say the moon or the planets or individual stars or fixed stars, asteroids, comets, black holes, and all the other as yet undiscovered celestial dignities are not also gods. But for those of us on earth, the influence of these other deities can only be ultimately realized through the agency of, or in relationship with, the sun. Local pantheons. There is abundant evidence to demonstrate that since prehistoric times, the sun was venerated as deity by cultures around the world. More common, however, was the worship of a pantheon of goddesses and gods who at first represented an assortment of natural powers and agencies relative to the daily lives of the populations of the local geographic area. Our Stone Age ancestors had thunder gods, gods of the hunt, and gods of fertility, who in later years would be called Zeus and Artemis and Aphrodite, who just a few hundred miles away and a handful of years later would be called Jove, Diana, and Venus. Gods such as these are not destroyed with the passing of each age, just as the sun is not destroyed as it passes from sign to sign in the precession of the equinoxes. Rather, the gods undergo shifts in character and importance within the local pantheon. This metamorphosis is also illustrative of changes which accompany major societal and geopolitical upheavals, such as when the goddess of one culture becomes merely the wife or mother of her former consort, or the male god of a tribe, city, or nation which has conquered her devotees in battle. For the ceremonial magician, each god can provide a subjective and easily visualized image of a specific aspect of his or her own complex psycho-spiritual nature. To enter into a working relationship with a god, invocation or evocation, exaltation, prayer, etc., is to contact, activate, assimilate, or direct the particular facet of one's own being personified by that god. As we have observed, the characters of the gods are mutated and changed, sometimes subtly, sometimes radically, with each step in the evolving consciousness of our race. In order to operate with the maximum efficiency and safety when invoking a god of any pantheon, the magician must be unambiguously in tune with the most recent shift. Zeus, Artemis, and Aphrodite, and the gods of all ages and cultures, are alive and well in the age of Aquarius. But the means by which they exercise their powers upon the modern psyche differ significantly from those of their Bronze Age incarnations. The modern magician who wishes to invoke the strong and aggressive presence of Mars might find himself or herself emotionally and ethically unprepared to handle the manifestation of drunken bloodlust, which was the natural calling card of Homer's god Ares. To better understand the momentum of change along the timeline of the astrological ages, let's take a brief look at just a few of the anthropological, cultural, and spiritual landmarks that characterize the historic epochs important to Western Hermeticism. And tomorrow we'll start by looking at the Age of Leo, 10,996 BC to 8,830 BC. That's, of course, the pole of Leo and Aquarius. We will pick this up tomorrow. So until then, check out those printouts or those photographs of those two charts. And if you can, print them out for yourself. Or like I say, better still, just go to Amazon and get Angels, Demons, Gods of the New Millennium. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.